Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. My opponent's gone fast. I have a good rack. I've got a couple of S's. Do I have a bingo? And I've got 4 floaters to consider with this rack. Now I'm first of all looking for a 7-letter bingo. Can't see one there. Now what about the U? I've got the out prefix. Can't see a bingo through the U. What about the R? So that would be an anagram of unstorms. Nostrums. Oh, fantastic. Nostrums. This didn't look a hugely bingo-y rack, but I certainly now do have a bingo. What about the A? Can't see anything through that. Can't see anything through the O. I've got the OUS ending, but the only bingo I've seen is nostrums. For 62. Not a good rack. Far too many O's, but I do have the J as a scoring tile. J-O is good, but I'm going to struggle to play off 2 O's with the J. I could play jailer onto an R. And I've got jow on my rack, which at least addresses or helps to balance out the vowel consonant imbalance. Now my opponent has provided an R for jailer, but I'm not going to score very much for that. So, is there anywhere for jow? Well, I could play it in row G, making Joe, but that's not very good. I could play jows in row K, taking out the S of nostrums. And that's good because I'm ahead. $24 points. Is there a better spot for jow? And is there a better word to play? The triple word square at 08 is available for a 5-letter play. I can't see a 5-letter play on my rack. Can't see anywhere else for jow. So I think this is the best I can do. More vowels. But again, I have a high scoring tile, this time the F, so I should be able to play through this, and O's do go well with F's, because oof is good. Nice overlapping play by my opponent for 34 points. My F could go in front of IN in column 6. But I can't see a way of playing off 2 F's in that spot. Now through an I could play fluey. And that's available in row B, but not for many points. Where I can play oof is down here. For 20. I could also play it in row M across here, but then I'm opening up column 1 for front hooks for oof, which I don't wish to do. And I can't see anything better than oof to sort this rack out, although it would be nice to play off one more vowel. Well, I guess aloof would be a way of doing that, but that rack leave is not going to be better than this one. Well, the vowel consonant imbalance has sorted itself out. Now, do I have zoogleel through the O of Urio? I think I do. So that stays available. I will be bingoing. What else is available for my Z? Well, my opponent takes my spot for zoogleel, scores 64 points and takes a 24-point lead. And also plays the first blank. So I'm looking for a place to play my Z and to play off at least one of the L's. So I could play Zol at M2, but then I'm placing the Z immediately above a double word square. So that's not a great thing to do. I have Gazelle onto an E. I could play Zols in row F onto the S of Nostrums. Let me see what that looks like. Well, that's pretty good. AEGL is reasonably synergetic. And this is a decent score. Yep, I think that's fine. Not great. I don't have a bingo here. $41 points for my opponent. He's now got a 32-point lead. I can play cow across here. Cow takes an S in front, so this is opening up column 4 for 7-letter bingos ending S, which is fine by me since I'm behind. Scores 32 points, which is good. Rack leaves fine. And I can't see anything better. Close to gate leg. I don't have a bingo with this rack that I can see. But a play of gag would get rid of both G's and leave a decent rack leave. I've got no real scoring tiles on this rack, nothing worth more than 2 points. So I am going to struggle to score. ZO takes an A in front, so I could play Gaga in row E. 24 points, that's not bad. R only takes an E after it, so column 12 is restricted, and my opponent has just played the second blank and bingoed again. So he now takes a 70-point lead. But still 34 tiles in the bag. I'm looking at the floaters of Redolent, which are the E, N and T. See if any of them provide me with a bingo, and they don't. Gaga stays available. I am taking out the scow hook. But there are still floaters on this board, and I am providing the G as a floater. So there's the floating S of routines and ENT of redolent. So it's a somewhat blocked board. But I think there's scope for opening it up, and my priority is to keep scoring. Is there somewhere else for Gaga which doesn't block that scow hook? Well, I don't think so. Great rack. I have treadle and related, alerted and altered. Do I have anything through the S of routines? So desalter, reslated, treadles. I think they're all blocked. What about the floaters in redolent? Do I have anything beginning with the T? Can't see anything there. What about the N? No. What about the E? No. So I'm now considering the G of Gaga. Well, how annoying. This is a good rack, and taking out the S front hook for cow hasn't caused any harm because I don't have an S. Now have I exhausted the possibility the bingos through the S of routines? 10 minutes on my clock. So treadles reslated, desalter, I think so. And is there anywhere on this board for my sevens? Gaga and Caney take nothing in front. Routines takes nothing after. Ureo only takes an S after it. Now the problem I have here is that this is a very bingo-y rack. It makes bingos, so anything I play is going to take away from its bingo-iness. So what to do? Well, I'm thinking about playing parallel to routines to open up column 13. So I could play Del down here, which is slightly obstructing, or more than slightly obstructing this S, but I'm not sure quite how useful this S is hanging out alone. But the play of Del does open up column 13. It takes an E and an S after it. And my rack leave of AERT is good. I draw the Q. I do have an I to go with it. I can play Chin at J6 for 32 points. And then that's going to leave me with Pirate, which is quite a good 6-letter set. I've got 8 minutes on my clock, so I'll probably play this quite quickly. Chin for 32. I draw an E. I have Petia on my rack. That's a good play by my opponent. He takes out the G of Gaga as a floater. So at the moment I've just got the floaters at the end of redolent. Can't see anything beginning with E or N or with the T. Now I could play Sep down here, keeping irate. Only 14 points. But it will keep my opponent away from columns 14 for the Elks hook, and there are 2 S's unseen, and away from the floaters in redolent. But is this providing too much for my opponent? It's certainly not providing very much for me. But the P is my scoring tile. I could play PE in row N, making BAP and ENE. That might be slightly harder for my opponent to utilise, but it's not going to score much more. Or I could play somewhere elsewhere, but I am anxious to open bingo lanes. I could play pit across here, which takes an S in front. That's slightly harder for my opponent to block. Still only 14 points, but it's not providing him with an easy spot. Now, does Petia have any anagrams? Because I note that column 13 is available for bingos ending in E. Well, I don't think so. And I've only got 5 minutes left, so I think I will play this. I have XR8 on my rack, and that does play in column 13, making I'd. So hopefully that stays available. And it does. Superb. My play of pit has drawn my opponent's focus. So I have XR8 down here. It's not going to score very much, but it is a bingo. 70 points. I draw both of the S's, and I've got a scoring tile in the F, and I'm 15 points behind. There are 7 tiles in the bag. I could play GIF in row O. I've blocked the S hook for Elks. 18 points for my opponent. So he's now 33 points ahead. If I score well, I may be able to catch him without bingoing. And this board is a little tight for bingos. Well, 4 vowels plus a Y left out of 12. I'm looking at the Elks hook. I can't play the S after it and the F after the E, so I'm looking to get value from my F. Now I'm looking to see if I can do anything fancy in column 14 with my F, a play of FI down here, because then I can use the XI-S hook to play down here. But FI isn't good. No T's left. So where can I get value from my F? Well, there is the GIF play. I'm retaining an I for playing after the X. I'm scoring 21 points. which is quite good, and I'm playing off only 2 tiles, which is good because I'm behind. I'm just scanning the board in case there's something better I can do with my F. Well, I could play Riff in row H. No, I think I will go with this. Pretty awful pickup. I have no scoring tiles just at a time when I need to score. My opponent was clearly short of vowels. Now, there are no tiles in the bag. My opponent has got a 28-point lead. I've got 2 minutes on my clock. So these are the only tiles I will have. So I'm looking to go out in 2 moves. So I've got Wise down here, but I don't want to play that straight away because then I'm setting up my opponent to play something like Vary and Rev. So is it possible to play off USEE somewhere else? Drew doesn't take an S after it. Well, I'm not in a great position here. I've got just 1 minute left. And I'm struggling to see anything. Well, can I play Issue somewhere? Or Seize? Does Seize play here? So C's for 21. This isn't great, but I think it doesn't provide anything amazing for my opponent, and it does enable me, I think. Let me just finish my turn. It does enable me to go out next go because I can play Q down here, C-U-E, and Jew up here. Now, I've only got 15 seconds left, so I don't have a great deal of time. Once my opponent has played, I've also got Roo across here, so what's the highest I can get? Q, 10, Roo, 9. X does take a U after it. Ah, so I could have played Issue. No, I couldn't because the W was there. Ah, I've got Your down here. 15 points, that's interesting. Anything better? I've got 15 seconds, my opponent's got 14 minutes. He will know that I'm about to go out. And he's got a lot of heavy tiles on his rack. So I need to be ready to move when my opponent plays, and my plan is to play your, and if that is blocked, to play Q. But I also need to consider what my opponent has played in case he has provided something better. S doesn't take an E or a U after it, but my opponent could put an I there. But I don't think that helps him very much. I don't think he can offload many of his high-scoring tiles. My opponent plays Ari for 25. Let me put your down. Where's he played that? B12. Okay, has he provided anywhere? No, he hasn't. Your for 15. And, oh wow, look at this. Fantastic. The final score, 402 for my opponent, 403 for me. A winning margin of just 1 point. Incredibly close endgame. I thought I was a massive underdog towards the end of that game, but victory snatched from the jaws of defeat. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent's go first. He played Eureo, and I got off to a great start with Nostrums, the only playable bingo. This was my opponent's rack. He had Ripe, and I was stuck with a lot of vowels, including 3 O's. I played Jows at K5, and I think that looks best, certainly better than changing. This is my opponent's rack. He plays Beanie for 34, and I again have 3 O's. And I played Oof, but not at M2, which opened up column 1. I played it at B7 for 20 points, and I think that looks fine. This was a great rack for my opponent. He bingoed with routines, blocking my Zoogliel. Wow, I had Zoiel somewhere. Through the E of routines. That would have been good. What did I do? I played Zols for 33. And yeah, the extra 14 points certainly means Zoiel was better. This was my opponent's rack, not good. He played Caney for 41 though, which was a good score. And not a great rack for me. I played Cow for 32, and that's actually a good score and a good rack leave, so that's fine. Great rack for my opponent. He had a choice of bingos, and he played Redolent. And he now had a 70 or 80 point lead. This was my rack. And I played Gaga at E3, and I think that's best. My opponent's rack, pretty awful. He played for 36. And this is the agonizing point where I had a selection of bingos on my rack, but I couldn't see any which played. And there were no available bingos. I played Dell for 17. Yeah, I could have got a few more points, but I think the rack leave after Dell, AERT, superior to all these rack leaves. So Dell is fine. And it's not just about score and rack leave. I'm also opening up column 13 for bingos, a bingo lane which I did end up using. This was my opponent's rack. And now I have the Q. I'm over 100 points behind. I have the Q. And I have Chin for 32. But also I could have played Chi for 2 more points here. But I prefer Chin because the G is a floater and I'm behind. Horrible rack for my opponent, but he blocks the floating G. Now I have Petia and couldn't see anywhere to play it, and there were no playable bingos. What did I do here? I played Pit, and again this is for strategic reasons, not just score and rack leave. The score is bad, the rack leave is really good, and from a strategic point of view, I'm opening up column 1 because Pit takes an S in front. This was my opponent's rack, and he chose to block that column, which left column 13 available for me to play Exorate, which gave me some hope. So I'm now only 15 points behind. This was my opponent's rack, truly dreadful. What does he do? He played Unth for 18, and I'm not in great shape here. There are only 5 tiles in the bag, and this looks and is a long way from a bingo. I played GIF for 21, and I could have played Phi at E14. F-I-E. Well, A doesn't take an S after it, doesn't take anything after it, so I'm not really generating anything really good there. Whereas GIF enables me to play my I next to the X on a future move, opening up the possibility of playing in column 15 with one of my S's. So I think GIF is better. This was my opponent's rack. Horrendous. He played Drew, and now this was the situation. I was 28 points behind, no tiles in the bag. These were the last tiles I was going to see, and my opponent has 3 scoring tiles. I played C's and J's. I could have played Ceci for 28. That wouldn't have been any good. I couldn't have guaranteed to go out with EIU, and I'm opening up row O for my opponent, so I certainly prefer C's for 21. Yeah, what you need to do here is look at the rack leaves. I am looking to go out in 2, and my move was the only one of the suggestions here, which leaves 2 tiles, and I think all of these other higher tile rack leaves, it's going to be problematic to find an out with them. So at this point, I think C's is my best play. But now, could my opponent have won? Bear in mind, he played Ari for 25 across here. Could he have done better? Well, yes, he could have done. He could have played Bray at D12. Oh wow, Bray, Axe, and Rhea. That certainly would have won him the game. I don't know whether Ari was the second best playable. It's certainly second on this list. And that gave me the opportunity to play Ure for 15 and win by 1 point. So a very exciting game and quite a few problematic racks to consider, which is good because you're going to come up against those all the time in Scrabble. Your bonus racks only constitutes 2 or 3 of your racks a game at best. Most of the rest of the time you're dealing with non-bingo-y racks, so it's good to have the practice of considering them. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.